Alright, welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. We're going to do something different here other than NeoFly and Beyond ATC. It was as per a request. We're going to be departing from AYLU. It's an island just north of Australia. If we zoom out a little bit. So we got Australia's right here. And we're going to be going to this big island here, and they got a bunch of little small islands. So we're going to do a little exploring in the Cessna 172 Skyhawk that has the Garmin 1000. So we're going to kind of get this thing going here. Let's go ahead and adjust the time because I think it's nighttime at the moment there. So let's get some sunlight going so that we can see what's going on. All right, so let's go ahead and get this thing going here. We're going to start over in a parking spot. I think there's only one, and then we're going to start up and get going in the air. All right, so we are I don't think we need communications. We're just going to fly off the grid. All right, see if I can remember everything. So there's the pitot cover. We're going to remove that. The propellers. There should be a wheel lock somewhere. Maybe not. They just have parking brakes on. All right, so I think we're good there. So I think we can just kind of hop in at this point. All right, let's get this thing fired up here. It's been a while since we've flown in a Cessna. So let's see. I do think we got to turn this on. We'll get some lights going. That's the fuel pump. That's cabin power. That's pitot heat. All right, so we are good to go at the moment, I think. I think this will adjust once we get level here, because I think we're on a pretty good slant. So I'm going to pull up our nav maps. So if we spin around, we're going to take off from runway number 30. Let's go ahead and release the parking brake. Spin around here if we can. Is there a wheel lock or are we just stuck? All right, let's hop out. Are we just spinning in mud? Or what? I think we're... there's the wheel lock. All right, now we can go. All right, now we are good to go. All right, we'll spin around here. That is a very short runway. It's only 218 feet. I'm not sure that's even enough for us to go. We'll give it a go. All right, we're semi in the air. Coming over water. All right, so that was a takeoff to remember for sure. Alright, I think we're pretty good with the airspeed at the moment. Let's go ahead and spin around and we'll do a quick look at that airport. Be kind of curious what that looks like from the air. Alright, so there's the airport there. We had to be a little creative on the takeoff. We basically went down that hill there. 500. And then there's the airport. It's a very small runway. And we could navigate around here, see what we're looking at. Maybe we'll follow this little water inlet. And see where it takes us. Got some nice mountains in the distance. I know we do have to find another airport to land at, that's for sure. Yeah, looking at the map in the top left, you can see all the little river branch offs, but I'm kind of curious about these mountains. It looks like they almost go up into the clouds. So if our good friend from Belgium is there watching, go ahead and send me a message if you want me to go to any particular spot. But in the meantime, I think I'll just kind of see where these mountains take us. Looks like there's a little bit of water mixed in there. Or is that a road? I think that might be a road. Oh, see a little waterway off to the west here. So maybe we'll pick that up and follow, see where that takes us. Pull it up on nav maps. So we are currently, I'll keep this small so that I can still see where I'm flying. So we're currently flying up here. This is where we departed from. So we're just north of it. I won't even try to pronounce that, but we're up by that plantation. Seems like a good way to sort of navigate along the coast here. Alright, maybe we'll head out. Seems like the mountains weren't that impressive. So we'll head out to the coastline here. So not many buildings. But very nice day out. Got the clouds up there. Very good visibility. Just doing a little sightseeing and exploring here, so appreciate anybody that tunes in. Looks like we got a couple people. So we're over in an island just north of Australia in the Cessna 172 Skyhawk. We departed from AYLU Airport, and we're gonna have to find a new spot to land because that runway was only 218 feet in length. We actually had to fly down like the side of the hill in order to gain enough speed to take off. But we successfully did it. We're up in the air and we got plenty of fuel to figure out where we're gonna go to land. So let's go ahead and bring up nav maps, and maybe we can find that spot where we can land. Either that or we're just gonna have to improv and find a beach or something that we can land on. But there are some points of interest out here. We'll just hopefully see if so we're headed towards the direction of Port Moresby. This definitely seems like a uninhabited area of New Guinea. Alright, so Demaria, depending on how you pronounce that. But yeah, it's nice to be doing something a little different, a little sightseeing, not having to deal with ATC, but normally we're doing Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 along with NeoFly for our missions and Beyond ATC for our communications. So we basically turned off all of that. It's a nice little area. go down a little closer look at that. I'll zoom out just a little bit. There we go. All right, there is an airport up in Port Moresby. It's AYPY. Let's see if we can find out some more information about that. Looks like there's 2 runways. There's 32 left, 30 or and then 32R. Yeah, one's 4,200 square feet, almost 4,300, and the other one was like 8,000, I think. So, plenty of room to land in either one of those. So we can definitely probably do that. All right, let's go back this way, see what we're looking at. We're going to bring this down pretty close to the water. There you go. It's probably just about as much as I'm comfortable with getting. See the shadow of the plane there in the water. coming up to Laura. It's almost like saying Laura with the stutter. All right, so yeah, let's see. So we departed from AYLU on the request of our friend up in Belgium, and we're just kind of navigating our way around here. And that was definitely an interesting takeoff on a runway that was only 218 feet in length, in the Cessna 172 Skyhawk. Yeah, I actually had to use the downslope of the hill in order to gain enough speed and momentum to get airborne. So we departed from runway number 30 on that, and kind of glad we did, because if we went the other direction, we would have been going uphill, and we definitely would not have been able to gain enough speed. So basically what we're doing now is we're going to find our way up to, what is it? We're going to find our way up to Port Moresby, and we're going to go ahead and land in airport AYPY, because there's two runways here, 32L and 32R on the one side and 14 degrees on the other, respectively. But these are 4,300 and 9,000 feet in length. So we'll probably take the short runway and go from there. So that is Jackson's Airport. So that's the goal, is to find our way up there, which is, let's see, roughly, give or take, 78 nautical miles. So we're going to kind of flip around here, see what this is. Kapori. Oh, nice. I wonder if that line on the upper left-hand side is the line we just drew. Actually, I don't think so. But let's try it. Let's go ahead and click on that, and then let's delete it. Yeah, no, it's still there. I didn't think that integrated into it. So nonetheless, let's just go ahead and we'll fly as much of a direct flight that we can, but we'll also do a little sightseeing along the way as well. So appreciate you tuning in on this sort of sightseeing trip that we don't normally do. We've been doing NeoFly and Beyond ATC missions. I feel like my trim is pitched up high. I think we can reduce our trim a little bit. Get some of the nose down. There you go. I feel like I was fighting against it. Get a lot smoother ride this way. All right, fuel sits at 37%. I think we got plenty to make it. Nice overcast, like slightly overcast day. Not sure if there's any rain in there. I don't see any rain. Almost like looks like some thunderstorms may pop up. Got a little dark layer on some of those clouds. Cool piano. Obviously, just got notified there's possible rain here in the next hour. Nice. So Port Moresby has a bunch of push talk radio stuff. So we'll go ahead and play some of those. Kind of curious what some of them are.
Felidia babai is a species of sea slug, a dorid nudibranch, a shell-less marine gastropod mollusk in the family Felidiidae. The specific name babai is in honor of the Japanese mycologist Kikutaro Baba. The holotype of this species was collected at Lion Island, Papua New Guinea. It has also been reported from North Sulawesi, Lembeh Strait, southern Queensland, Australia, South Korea, and rarely on Okinawa. A number of similar coloured species have been found but are not yet named. Felidia babai has a cream to light yellow coloured dorsum with white tubercles in the centre of black rings and the mantle finely edged in yellow. The clavers of each rhinophore has 21 to 24 lamely, and the rhinophore pocket is trimmed in white. Its white-coloured, pointed, oral tentacles have lateral grooves, and they also are trimmed in yellow. The ventral surface is a pale cream colour. This species feeds on the yellow Spongiacanthellus vipata.
And then this is actually on Port Moresby.
Port Moresby, also referred to as Pom City or simply Moresby, is the capital and largest city of Papua New Guinea and the largest city in the South Pacific outside of Australia and New Zealand. It is located on the shores of the Gulf of Papua, on the southwestern coast of the Papuan Peninsula of the island of New Guinea. The city emerged as a trade centre in the second half of the 19th century. During World War I, it was a prime objective for conquest by the Imperial Japanese forces during 1942 to 43, as a staging point and air base to cut off Australia from Southeast Asia and the Americas. In 2000 it had a population of 254,158. As of 2011, it had a population of 364,145, giving it an annual growth rate of 2.2% over a 9-year period. The place where the city was founded has been inhabited by the Motu Kotabu people for centuries. The first Briton, as it was captained Moresby in 1873. It was named in honour of his father, Admiral Sir Fairfax Moresby. Although Port Moresby is surrounded by Central Province, of which it is also the capital, it is not part of that province, but forms the National Capital District. The traditional landowners, the Motu and Koitabu people, are represented by the Motu Koita Assembly. Port Moresby hosted the APEC summit in November 2018. However, there were concerns about security given the capital's reputation for violent crime. In September 1975, Papua New Guinea became an independent country with Port Moresby as its capital city. Prince Charles, Prince of Wales, represented the Queen of Papua New Guinea at the celebrations. New government, intellectual and cultural buildings were constructed in the suburb of Waigani the supplement and replaced those of downtown Port Moresby. They included those for government departments, including a National Parliament building, which was opened in 1984 by Prince Charles and blends traditional design with modern building technology. The Papua New Guinea National Museum and National Library are in Waigani. A mansion was built in Port Moresby just west of the old legislative building, but the last pre-independence chief minister and first prime minister of a sovereign state declared it not nearly grand enough. It was made the residence of Australian high commissioners, and a mansion suitable to Some's demands was built in Waigani. Several of the government buildings have been abandoned due to long-term neglect. Chief amongst these are a house known to most locals as the Pineapple Building and the central government offices. Nearby buildings, such as Morata House and Vulupindi House, are starting to show significant signs of decay due to a lack of maintenance. However, widespread restoration rather than demolition of long-disused office buildings has been highly active since the first decade of the 21st century. The legislative building before independence and the first Parliament building is long gone, but the old courthouse in town Port Moresby remains.
Alright, that was about Port Moresby. Interesting stuff. Alright, that's Mama Long. 5 miles out. Let's see how far we are now. We're about 55 nautical miles away. If we go a straight line, which is roughly this direction, like 295-ish, maybe even a little bit more. So let's see, if we go to Alright, so we turned on our autopilot to our heading and FLC to navigate our altitude. So yeah, 305 is basically almost a direct shot, probably a little less. We gotta probably bank a little bit to the left here. Get a little more of a direct flight. So looking at our flight here. So we're going to head up towards Moresby here, which is AYPY. And we're crossing over that Mamelo, which I think was something different here. Imagoro. We got a little mountain range here. Not that high up in the elevation, but nonetheless, nothing to not be spoken about. Alright, it's a nice little sightseeing flight here. Good change from our Neofly that we've been flying in the Cessna Citation CJ4. We are now flying in the Cessna 172 Skyhawk. Brings me back to earlier times. Nice little sightseeing here. I feel like the colors match our plane here with the ground. Go ahead and adjust our heading to 305. So airport is 323. So once we get a little closer, we'll adjust that. Alright, just got a message that we got moderate rain here in 25 minutes. And the kids are at the pool, so I kind of figured I'd let them know. we're cruising up here and you get, or where are we at? I know it's an island just north of, yeah, New Guinea. Just it's an island just north of Australia, on the east side of Australia, up by Queensland. But here's our map. You got our plane located right here. There's Australia, Indonesia. Now we're going to be flying up to Port Moresby, and we departed from I think it was right around here, AYLU. It's a very small airport. We departed from runway number 30 and went down the hill here to gain some speed. Kind of zigzagged our way through the trees. And once we were able to gain some speed, we headed off over the ocean there. And then figured we had to find a new airport to land at. So we found one over at Port Moresby, AYPY. And this one is definitely a lot longer in length. We're going to be landing in 32 left. It's 4,300. Start watching my elevation here. It seems like the ground's coming up to meet us pretty quick. We're currently sitting at 1,100 feet. But so far, so good. It's definitely getting a little darker, a little windier here. Rain is definitely coming. It's just our altitude by a couple hundred feet. Go up to 1,500. Plenty just to get past that little mountain that we were at there. Open up the window. Makes it a little louder, but get a little breeze going. That's like being in a non-pressurized cabin. Another little mountain range coming up here. Looks like kind of a steep drop off after this. Alright, so we got about 23 nautical miles to go to the airport, so not too much longer. And once again, we are going to be landing at AYPY over in Port Moresby after departing from that very short runway over in AYLU. And this one should be a breeze here. 4,300 feet. We're going to land in the short runway over at 32 left. And then veer off here, take taxiway A, and find a parking spot. Let's see what we got going on here. So yeah, 19 miles to go. It does look like some clouds are picking up. I'm not sure if it's going to be raining or not at the airport, but we will see. So no ATC on this one. We'll save that for NeoFly and Beyond ATC for our more formal flights. Alright, we're going to adjust our heading here to 300. That'll put us roughly 5 miles out where we can adjust our heading to 323 and line up for the runway about 5 miles out of the airport, and we'll get some flaps going at that point. I think this is going to be a nice landing here. It's going to be partially over the water, then over land. Airport probably sits roughly up here. think we can go ahead and reduce our altitude just a little bit. Try to do that without topping out into the 130 range. Don't want to overheat the engine. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've flown the Cessna 172. It's kind of like riding a bike. It comes back to you pretty easy. But yeah, it's been nice doing this sightseeing and explore a new little area. Got a random, but oops, hang on, I gotta answer this, so I'm gonna mute the phone call, or mute the microphone for a second. Alright, yeah, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up pretty quick here, but we are pretty close to the airport. So this line here is 5.4 nautical miles. We're almost coming up to it here. Gonna make this right hand turn to a heading 323, and then we'll go ahead and land it. But for the time being, I'm gonna mute this because my kids are gonna run in and they're gonna be super loud.